All right, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Kendra Larson and I am the director of the Archer Gallery and the Clark Arts Talks coordinator. Nice to see everybody. Welcome to the first Artist Talk of spring 2025. Woo! That's for you all for making it here. That's awesome. Good job. Today we are lucky to have the artist Bruce Conkle here. We were just talking about how we first met, and I can't remember, it was so long ago. I think I came across Bruce's installation at the Portland building in 2003. He did this awesome installation of Sasquatch's living room, right? Is that right? Yeah, it was really cool. And then I think we met maybe just at an art opening at some point after that. So I've known Bruce for a long time, so I'm very excited that he's here as artist in residence this month down at the Archer Gallery. Bruce Conkle declares an affinity for mysterious natural phenomena such as snow, fire, rainbows, crystals, volcanoes, tree burls, and meteorites. He examines contemporary attitudes toward the environment, including deforestation, climate change, and extinction. Conkle's work often deals with man's place within nature and frequently examines what he calls the misfit quotient at the crossroads. His work is shown all around the world, including Reykjavik, Rio De Janeiro, New York, Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, Miami, Seattle, and Portland. Recent projects include public art commissions for the Oregon Department of Transportation, TriMet, Max Light Rail, and Portland State University Smith Memorial Student Union Public Art and Residency. Between 2010 and 2011, he received a Hallie Ford Fellowship and an Oregon Arts Commission Fellowship. His 2012 show Tree Clouds and Surface Glitch and his 2016 project were awarded project grants from the Regional Arts and Culture Council. So let's all welcome Bruce Conkle.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kendra, for bringing me here, and thank you, Clark College. You guys have been a great host, and it's been a real pleasure to be here and exhibiting now in the gallery and also as the artist in residence for spring. So since we're right above the gallery, we're not going to stay up here too long. We're actually just going to go down there and see the work in person. But as Kendra said, you know, my work deals with our place in the world and nature and how we fit in and how we don't fit in exactly. So I think that'll be apparent when we get in the gallery, maybe maybe not when you first see it, but when I talk about the work a little bit. And so, you know, we're at a kind of critical point in our, what do you call it, a career as a species, I guess. You know, with climate change and AI and all these things like kind of converging on us at once, and obviously politics are a mess and, you know, all that. So it's a fascinating time to be alive and to be working as an artist, but it's also sort of terrifying sometimes, you know, they say, like, you know, doom scrolling, whatever. But as an artist, I think one of the valuable things or helpful things is that you can sort of concentrate on those things, but if you turn it into an art project, you sort of lose track of the anxious aspect of it, and you kind of dive more into the creative aspect of it. So let's see, what else should I say up here before we go downstairs? Yeah, it'll be sort of an informal talk. There's quite a few of us, but it's a large gallery, so we can go down there and yeah. We ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna put a sign up that says. Yeah. So Kendra's gonna lead the way.
showing? Obviously, you know what you're showing.
9 or 10 small paintings and several large pieces. And there's a third wall.
Cool.
That's all I know. What about you?
Yeah, it's sort of just a little assortment of things over
Yeah.
the last. Actually, no, there's one that's really.
What's the big one she's beyond with? Is that, what's the date on that one? That's gorgeous. There was one of your paintings that was on the website. That's why I can't take the 9 gallery show down. It's at Museum of Northwest Art in I've never been there.
Never been to look up.
And the dyed shirt.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we went to check it out.
Yeah, we'll have a good time this day. Absolutely. Jerry and I got friends.
So, I think everyone made it here. This is my kitty cat, Mr. Frosty. She's just a little companion. She doesn't really like people. She likes being close but not pets, so she just always hang out under there. So, as the artist in residence, I had the gallery several days before the exhibition opened. It was supposed to be a little longer, but spring break and things kind of messed it up. So, actually, pretty much all the work that's here, apart from one of the paper sculptures that I started at home, was made here during the residency portion of this. And as part of that, I'm continuing to come into the gallery daily and create work. Around the corner there, I have a little workshop. And so I've been coming in every day and continuing to make work. And feel free to ask questions anytime. This is sort of an informal thing. So this piece that is in the main room here, it has the little kind of alien-looking plant that's in a helmet, obviously moving around, and that sort of represents life. You know, not just plant life, but all life, human life or non-human life alike. And that I placed it in a helmet because I sort of see us as moving through time and space, sort of literal and metaphorical, you know, sort of a spaceman kind of helmet looking thing. And so that's us like going through time. And then the suitcase is like all our luggage and baggage and everything that we bring with us, like industry and manufacturing, whatever, consumerism, all that, you know, and just the harvesting of the resources and all that. And so, you know, the way we're doing that isn't necessarily a sustainable model the way it's going right now, right? I think everyone's pretty much aware of that. So it's like, you know, we're coming along, we're bringing all this stuff with us, and not too much attention's being paid to the long-term results of that, I guess you'd say. So, and by that I mean, you know, we're kind of like cutting down too many trees and polluting the water, polluting the air, using, you know, what's it take, like 2 Earths now to support the population because we use so much resources, and then everyone knows that, but it's like, well, still, you know, I'm just going to have a cheeseburger, and, you know, or like 90 vegans can eat off what I eat, right? So, and we all know that, but it's like, well, it's easier to just turn the heat on and have a cheeseburger. So the bucket has Pepto-Bismol in it, and the Pepto-Bismol is kind of chasing this, and it's further out on the radius. It has a longer radius, so even though they're moving at the same RPMs, you know, if you had a tow tube and measured the airspeed, the Pepto's moving faster than the rest of them because it's further out on the arm. So, you know, whereas like this doesn't have to move so far to go in a circle, it has to move much further. And she thought I was leaving, I guess. So, but so the Pepto's moving faster, but it'll never catch it, right? So it's sort of this metaphorical conundrum that we're in, I guess you'd say. So, does anyone have any questions on that before we move on to something else? Yes?
Why did you choose Pepto-Bismol first?
Oh, I use Pepto-Bismol because, as I was saying, you know, like what we do to the environment and our environment is like not very sustainable. Because I think Pepto-Bismol is something people generally take for some condition that they brought on themselves, like eating too much food, eating too spicy food, drinking too much booze, and you're like, I'm probably gonna feel like shit tomorrow, but I can have Pepto-Bismol and it'll be okay. Like you're not worried about the long-term aspects of it. And so with like the resources in the planet, it's sort of like, well, you know, we're gonna worry about next quarter's profits and don't worry about the long-term health of the planet. So it's sort of a Band-Aid that doesn't address the issue. So I've used Pepto-Bismol for many years in different sculptures with fountains. I've used it as paint. I've used it as sort of liquid like that as well. Yes?
I've never seen a glass bucket. Did you make that?
I did not make it. I just lucked into it at some point a long time ago. And it's the first time I've actually used it. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that would be perfect for a sculpture someday. Its day finally came. Yes?
Is there anything visible in the briefcase that we can't see, or is it?
In the suitcase?
Yeah. Besides my frying.
No. I mean, there are practical reasons to this. This has to balance. And so the suitcase, I could put weight in it if it needed weight, but it's pretty heavy on its own. So the failed drawings and things are actually in the sculptures. So I thought I was going to have to put things in the suitcase to add weight, but I ended up having to cut out all the straps and everything and get it as light as I could because it actually is quite heavy and it has to balance this way as well. Like it's not just this way, but this way it has to balance. So I added weight to the helmet and then had to adjust the level of the Pepto to get it right so that the thing looks awkward but functions. I don't want it perfectly level. I don't always like it when artists make something that looks like a machine made it, you know? Like I like that you can see the hand of the artist in it. Like when I make ceramics, they're just hand built and they're wonky, you know, and then people that are professional, they make it look like a machine made it. And I was like, what's the point? Like, sorry for any ceramicists that are trying to perfect their super thin porcelain plates and all that, but and I understand that, you know, that's like a technical thing, but I like the fact that when you see something, you can tell it was made by human by hands. Yeah, Steve.
Hey, Bruce, did you know you were going to make this when you came into the space already, or did you respond to the space?
I responded to the space. I didn't know what I was going to make when I started the residency. I had to do a rush order on the motor once I decided I was going to do it because I'd been here a while before I decided to fill the space with that. I thought I was going to do some oil painting actually, but then the timing of it was really difficult, and then I got food poisoning and lost a couple more days, and then also, you know, there's just a little bathroom down the hallway, and it would be really hard to try to keep that clean while I'm cleaning stuff. So originally I bought a ton of like painting supplies, and then as I was here, it sort of shifted. I knew I wanted to do some sculptures, the ones that are on the wall over here. Maybe we should shift over there now.
Does this piece have a title?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I had some working titles, but it doesn't really. It's still too fresh.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yes.
You say motorized and it moves on
Yeah.
its own as in, okay.
Yeah, it's like a heavy-duty motor. The motor itself weighs like almost 15 pounds. I think. Just clamping it up there is kind of
I was
difficult.
wondering if it was air, if then you would push it or something like that, but.
No, it's an electric motor. So let's shift over here. I can talk about these pieces a bit. So these are kind of still in progress. but they're made out of paper, so it's just like paper. And but I am planning on doing some painting and metal leafing on them so they look more realistic. I want them to look. It's sort of a touchy amount of how real you want it to look, because I want it to look realistic enough that when you first see it, you think it's real, and then at some point you realize it's not. And it's about that moment of knowing what it is, questioning yourself, wondering, sort of changing your mind, and then deciding it's something else. And with the like AI and fake news and all that, it's like what we have to do all the time. I mean, part of the reason I wore this shirt, someone just asked me what the shirt said, it's because it's like communication, but you don't know what the hell it means, right? Like, maybe you can read it, maybe not. But I like the fact that it's communicating something, but you might not know what it says, even though it's like a word. And once you see it, it's like, right there. And there's all these other sort of hidden systems of communication that we deal with all the time. And now we can no longer trust images and videos that we see. And don't trust sculpture either. So mostly what I'm doing right now, I still have some paint on myself, is I've been coming in and making a second set of these and some other tools. And so over the course of the month, these will transform. And I wanted the ones that look more realistic to be further away, so that they just look real when you first see them. And then as you get closer, hopefully people figure out that it's a danger of making it too realistic, right? I just saw the tin can going around.
Yeah,
and there's a danger with that. Like, people see it and they just think it's a tin can, and you could be talking about paper. This actually happened to someone that was in the gallery last week. Is that the gallery sitter attendant was telling him that it was like paper, and he's like, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. I just see a tin can here. I just thought it was metal, So, you don't want it to be like too kind of cartoony or fake looking, and you don't want it to be too realistic. So it's a bit of a balance to find that point where, and not everyone will figure out it's real, and not everyone, or not real. I mean, not everyone will figure out it's fake. So, but people just leave with different ideas of what they saw, and I like that. It's like, even before AI, our senses are a little fallible. It's like you can't always trust what you see, because you see illusions and stuff as well already, and then bring AI into the mix, and like, don't ever trust anything you ever see or read or hear again, right? And that's the point we find ourselves in.
So why shovels and axes and picks?
I think they're like the main tools that you can like sort of build a society with, or tear it down with in a way. They're neutral on their own, but they can be used to build or destroy. I think they're sort of timeless in a way. One really funny thing is on that suitcase, I'd had it for years and years, and when I moved back from New York, like more than 20 years ago, it had a tag on it, a little card with my name and like a business card thing. And I cut it off when I got it to the gallery, and I looked at it, and it actually had a shovel and a pick like crossed on it. And it's on one of the tables back there, if you see it. It's got like a Brooklyn address. And it's like, it's really funny, because then that's what I've been building, was a shovel and pick. And it's just sort of these recurring things. Someone else mentioned that it's like they relate to video games. Not what I thought originally, but a lot of the games you need to harvest resources or whatever as well. And, it's what, even though most of us don't like work with these much anymore, pretty much everyone's used a shovel, but maybe people haven't used much of that axe and pickaxe. But that's what our societies are built on. I think kind of all around the world, they might take slightly different shapes, but every society is built with these. But now they're fake, They're building our society of artificial tools. Yeah.
Can I ask about the materials that you keep thinking they might be in a sculpture, sometimes a sculpture like the glass bucket. How do you know what to hang on to?
Oh, I hang on to too much stuff. It's a little problematic, because you think your studio is just going to be this sacred space where you've got all this space, and then you just kind of fill it with stuff you might use, and then suddenly it's not very functional because you got so much stuff. So, I don't know. It caught my eye. I've made buckets before too. It's like they kind of go with this, sort of these neutral tools, and the tin cans is a recurring theme. I don't know. You just see it and have to have it sometimes.
Yeah. Nice, thank you.
And there's any other questions up here? There's one more piece in back. Move to, yes.
So did you have a specific theme in mind as far as the colors that you used? Or was it
No, not really. The colors, I cut up different paper, and when I said something a little bit ago about failed drawings, like this is all like archival, like drawing paper and acrylic paint. There's no glue. It's just like straight up archival art supplies. So it's drawing paper and paint. And I just mix some paint. Let's get the paper wet in a little water first so it takes the shape, and then pat it off, and then paint it and put it on. But when I make a new batch, I change colors so that I can see what's like fresher and what's not. But they're just kind of some bright colors that I had left over from another project. So I didn't buy them specifically for this. I mean, I like the way they look like this, but it wasn't really like a conscious, planned out thing. And like, yeah, some have gray. Like if I add blue at the end to the orange, it just grays out, and then that's the end, and then I use that up. So.
And there's going to be a workshop on April 30th, right?
Yeah, there's a workshop where we're going to make the tin cans out of paper. So I actually have two workshops. So the first one, we'll make the tin cans, and the second one, we'll metal leaf them so they look realistic. So if any of you want to come to that, please do. And the materials are provided. So. Yeah.
Hi, Bruce. I'm curious about like the role that drawing plays in your overall practice. Like you mentioned, like obviously we saw a couple of them upstairs projected. You mentioned failed drawings has kind of been becoming a part of this, but like I know it seems like drawing is like a major part of what you do. And yeah, like could you talk about that at all? Like how that translates into sculpture or idea?
Yeah, I have a like fairly active drawing practice. A lot of that's in my sketchbook, so. Like for these, I didn't actually, I might have made a note with, instead of writing the word, I'll probably just draw the images of these when I had the idea, like, oh, this is what I want to put in the show. But because these are just sort of life-size models, I didn't actually do a lot of drawings for this. But oftentimes, do you have a drawing class here? Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
Observational drawing is here, and then what I think painting one, and yeah.
So, yeah. I draw a lot. I find it useful to think through ideas. I find it useful if you aren't feeling creative, just start. I was talking to Tiana about it yesterday. Just start drawing like mandalas or something, and just sort of go around and just get into practice. You don't have to have some great inspiration for some masterpiece or whatever. And yeah, drawing is the foundation of kind of all the arts in a way. So if you're making sculptures or paintings, it usually starts with a drawing, or it can be the finished product in and of itself. So, yeah, an observational drawing. Yeah, you talked about having them try to draw the sculpture while it's moving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, observational drawing is great. You can see something 100 times, 1,000 times, and if you sit and try to draw it, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that it's like this or whatever. It's like really helps to see things. I don't know if that really answered your question. Okay. There's one more piece in back that we can go around the corner there. Hi, Karen. more separation, I guess, so you didn't walk in and see a studio mess. So this is the third piece here, and it has there's a mixture in the tin can, and a little fire burning underneath. Sometimes it can smell fairly strong. I think there's enough people, it's like wafting around, it's really kind of dissipated now. But sometimes like one area, I don't know if anyone can smell it. But it's a mixture of molasses and ginger and cinnamon and now maple syrup. I added some maple syrup. So it's supposed to be this kind of sweet, sort of gingerbread scent coming out. And, you know, it's hanging from a branch, as you can tell. So, I don't know, I'm kind of curious to see what other people think of it before I say much about it.
Is it a real tin can?
Yeah, it's a real tin can. because of the fire, I didn't want to try it with the big one. And it's like, it'll boil, it starts boiling in there. I don't know, it depends on the level of the liquid or maybe the height of the flame.
Are those drips on the side supposed to be visually related to the wood? They look like the wood.
Okay, no, not really. I mean, yeah, I can see that. It's like a long sort of squiggly line. Yeah, it's just the way it falls down the ridges of the can.
Huh.
I was thinking maybe, especially with like the maple syrup and spices, that it could be like paying homage to what like the trees have given to us that we've learned to refine.
Yeah, like the maple
Things that
syrup
we
comes
value.
from the trees.
Yeah, and like also cinnamon from like the bark and everything. It's like stuff coming from the trees that we've learned to refine into things that we value highly.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. Like cinnamon is a bark of a tree. And
I kind of almost got a fishing line kind of analogy there. So it's kind of, it reminded me of the sweetness, but then it also kind of reminded me of like a fishing line where it's like trying to lead someone somewhere or trying to draw someone in, perhaps.
yeah,
Just my perspective.
yeah. She's saying it's like kind of like
Like carrying us.
leading someone or drawing someone in.
Luring people in.
What was that?
Maybe like luring people in, like how baiting a fishing line.
Yeah, luring people in. Yeah, it's kind of like a trap. I envision it as sort of a trap. And obviously not everyone's going to get, you know, all the ideas I had going on, but it's sort of the fairy tale and myth. That's why I went with the gingerbread. It's sort of like the Hansel and Gretel house in the forest or something. So it's just like hanging on a branch. Some people thought maybe it was to catch insects that I talked to earlier. It's like, no, it's more to catch people. But in a way, it's like the other issues I was talking about. It's like the traps that we fall for. Like we just walk right into it. You know, we build them ourselves and walk right in. So, whatever that represents to you, you know, that's what it is. You know, whether it's social media, or drugs, or
Nicotine.
cheeseburgers. You know, whatever that you do, it's like, I know this probably isn't like a great long-term plan, but that's what I might do.
Yeah, it does have kind of an ominous feel to it.
In the middle of nowhere.
I know if I brought my horse in here and tried to walk around that, he wouldn't go near it.
Yeah, that's funny. Or it might eat it.
No, I can almost guarantee you he wouldn't go near it. Or yeah, I mean, some of them break it up. Most of them don't.
All right, any other questions?
I have a question. So you know that you're on artist in residence and you're developing this work right now. My question for you is about editing. There seems to be, well, I just want to hear your take on editing. Like, are there things you tried? Are there things you didn't try? Is it exactly how you first tried it? What's in it for you?
I can talk about that. I mean, this is a large gallery, right? And I know you mentioned I could bring in older work, but I always enjoy making new work. That's like I think probably my main enjoyment of being an artist is like in the process making work. So I was like, well, I wanted to embrace that residency aspect and just make the work here. So that being said, there's a lot of wall space And for a while, I mentioned I thought I was going to do some oil paintings. I thought I might put up some drawings, but it became, yeah, I don't know. I just like kind of the simplicity of honing it down. And editing, as far as, your long-term commitment as an artist, like, I've got so much work I could have just brought in and filled the gallery and not made any new work. Like, that would have been easy, but it wouldn't have been like rewarding or enjoyable. So these ideas just sort of evolved as I was here. I mean, most of the time, I started making the paper sculptures, and I was just working on those like kind of several hours every day. And like while I was doing that, I was like looking at the space and thinking about it and moving around in it. And I decided to just go sort of more minimal. It still looked really empty with the lights on the walls until like those came down, and it was like suddenly like books. Is there another question over here somewhere?
I guess I'll keep asking questions.
Sure.
So kind of connected to that, a little bit more about the process for you. Like, do you have any advice for young artists building a studio practice? Do you have anything that would be like anything you discovered along the way?
Yeah, just stick with it, I mean, if you don't take your phone with you, you'll be a better artist in the studio. Yeah.
Why copper wire?
Excuse me?
Why copper wire?
Why copper wire? Because it's like thin, it doesn't show a lot, it hangs pretty straight. I thought of using string, or I have thicker wires, steel wire, brass wire, whatever, but I just wanted it like sort of minimal. And someone else said fishing earlier, so maybe it's not quite fish line, but it has, it's definitely not fish line, but it has that similar kind of invisible quality. And to be a trap, it's supposed to be like kind of minimal, so it doesn't scare horses away or whatever.
Bruce, is it useful for you to look at the work of other artists, or do you just pretty much make all of your own stuff up all by yourself?
I've seen so much other art, but I didn't have any direct references to it. I just kind of make it up on my own. So I can tell you a funny story. When I was in art school, the School of Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and we had this visiting artist program, and they would come to they would actually teach the class. So like one of the sculpture classes was divided up into 4 sections, and each one was taught by a different visiting artist. And so like the first artist that came, he like totally loved what I was doing. Like, oh, this is great, you're on the right track. I like this, I like that. And the second artist that came to teach saw the exact same piece, or maybe slightly changed, and hated it, He was like, no, that's no good, And so I was like, all right, screw it. Like, you just got to trust yourself. And that's that. I don't know. I mean, I would say there's probably some link to shamanistic work of boys, maybe, like with this piece, but not the others. Like, I don't know. It's like I don't really have any models.
He has a very cute cat.
Yeah, she's a little sweetie.
Is this a gallery cat?
This month she is. Yeah,
She's gotten so big.
yeah.
I don't want to say that.
Other questions? I saw another hand go up.
Why is like the wire so long, or so low to the ground?
Oh, because you're much more vulnerable when you bend over.
Actually, where did you get the branch? Where'd you get the branch?
The branch? From a fig tree in my backyard. The tree was cut down a couple years ago, but I've had that branch drying in the studio for a long time. finally got a use for it. I just liked how wonky it was.
Look, it's not good.
I was worried, when frosty getting out? No?
What
I
about
was just gonna ask, you mentioned sitting down to see it, got me thinking, would you say your other experiences inform your artwork? Because you did art installation and wear a lot of other hats. Can you talk about your kitty cat, anybody? Can we check on Mr. Frosty?
She's okay.
Okay.
Did she go out?
Yeah.
She's probably all right. I think.
She
You
comes.
know, that's good.
She'd been for herself.
Yeah.
There she is.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I was just gonna ask you if you want to share any of that, because I know you've had quite a.
Yeah, I've worked at a lot of different galleries and museums over the years. I worked at Leo Castelli Gallery in New York in the 90s, which was sort of late, you know. I mean, he was more prominent probably in the 60s with pop art, but he still represented a lot of the same artists that were alive at the time, Roy Lichtenstein, Jasper Johns, and Bruce Nauman actually as well. And so I got to meet a lot of those artists and work with them. That didn't necessarily influence the way I install work, but also working in galleries, you get to see a lot of artists' work that's not made very well, and it's really kind of your curse, you know? You have to install it, or it's like dangerous to move or whatever. So I guess years of working in the gallery museum world, you just kind of figure out how to build things or make artwork that's, you'll get invited back, you know what I mean? There's a good chance you'll get invited back. So, yeah, I don't know if, again, that's just like years of soaking that up sort of passively, subconsciously, I think, but it does come across, yeah.
I'm curious, with your with art, creativity, your interest in natural phenomena like the volcanoes and stuff that you mentioned in the intro. What link, is there any link between your childhood and your current work/interests?
I would say so. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it making this work, but like I grew up and then, you know, it was like a busy street on one side and the back side was kind of this like ramshackle, like just a hill and a ditch and a creek at the bottom, you know, outside the property. And my brother and I would just play down there, you know, we used like shovels a lot, I guess, build dams and divert water and catch frogs or whatever, you know, kind of the stereotypical old school. I mean, it was in Portland. It wasn't like out in the country somewhere, but it was in, you know, kind of the outer parts of Portland. So, yeah, you just like find stuff, make things. I don't know. I was always like creative. I think I got in trouble the first day of kindergarten for drawing on the floor with a black crayon. So. You know, my education started off that way. I was like in second grade or maybe third grade, and I used to doodle on all the homework and draw on the homework, and my mom went to the teacher and said, how can we get him to stop drawing? Luckily the teacher said, don't, like, just let him draw. He might be an artist, like, just let him draw. And so my mom, like, okay, but before that she was trying to get me to stop drawing. I wasn't really like encouraged to be an artist at all, but just sort of wound up there. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any others? I don't know how we're doing on time. I think we will wrap it up. I would say thank you very much for coming out. Again, thank you to Kendra and our colleagues.